Hey, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to rank for a local keyword. And in this case, it's going to be emergency dentist St. Louis. And I'm going to show you not only how to rank, but I'm actually going to take an actual business that's currently ranking for that keyword around page 3 or so. And I'm going to walk through how I would improve that page that they currently have so that they can improve their SEO performance and ultimately get to the first page of Google. So without further ado, let's dive right in. All right, so as I mentioned, we're going to be trying to improve the performance for this specific keyword, emergency dentist St. Louis. So we'll go ahead and copy this. And with SEMrush, you can go through here and see the current SERP results. But we also just want to look here and see what is Google showing us. And this is important because you always want to manually analyze the search results because sometimes you can get some really good intel. So in this case, right away I see that Google is showing a local pack, okay? But in this case, really what I'm gonna be focusing on is the organic results, not so much the local pack. But with that said, if we wanted to dominate in both the organic and the local pack, we can see right away, it's gonna be very challenging because we have this competitor here who has a very large number of reviews and they also have a very high rating, okay? So 400 reviews, 4.8 rating, and they also have a very keyword-rich domain. So they've got a lot of good things going for them and they'll be pretty difficult to beat. And that's why, they're also ranking here in the organic results as well. So, but I would also look at these guys and get pretty excited because they have, they do have a lot of reviews, but most of them are not super good. So, 2.7, and then here we have a 3.0 and only 4 reviews. So no doubt that you could certainly break into the top 3 for this keyword with the right strategy, at least in the local pack. Now, like I said, if I wanted to get into the local pack, I would just have a domain that's hyper focused on being an emergency dentist or that particular service. And then I would just find a location in St. Louis to get an address. And then what I would do is I would obviously get an exact match domain or a very close keyword rich domain. And then I would just get some reviews and get a lot of 5-star, 4-star reviews. And that should be enough to get you where you need to be in the local pack. But to rank organically, it's a little different strategy, it's a little more challenging. And so we can see right away the first 2 results using keyword-rich domains. So they're gonna get a lot of benefit from that. Especially recently, that seems to be the trend that we've kind of shifted back to these really keyword-rich domains performing exceptionally well on the local level. So that's the first thing I'd be looking at. The second thing I'd be looking at is, are there any SERP features here that are relevant that I could potentially take advantage of? So looking at this, there is a people also asked, so there might be some opportunities to create some additional supporting content. These are things you need to be taking note of because this is all very, very important. And we keep growing down here and we'll see that for the most part, nothing too crazy as far as SERP features. Okay, so for this demonstration, I went as far back as the 3rd page of Google for this keyword, and I just picked a totally random business. In this case, I'm picking this one here, STL Mid-County Dental. Once again, I have no connection with this business. I don't even know them. So, if they see this, awesome. If they don't, it doesn't affect me either way. Just wanted to take a very specific business here that's on the 3rd page. I didn't want to get one that was way out there, super far back because, there's just so much that typically needs to be done in that case. But someone who's sitting around the 3rd page, there's some slight tweaks, some slight changes. We could get them at least up to that 1st page. And so let's go ahead and take a look at this page here. Okay, so right away we can see that this page here is pretty thin. There's not a whole lot of content here. So right away we know that we can definitely increase the amount of content on this page just without even using any of the tools that we have at our disposal. But also very quickly with the detailed plugin, we can quickly see how this page is structured and see if they've placed the keywords in the most critical spots. So remember, the keyword we're trying to rank for here is emergency dentist St. Louis or any variation of that. So St. Louis emergency dentist in St. Louis, all of those variations that have the same exact intent. So what we want to do is we want to see that in the most critical spots on the page. So when we look right here, right away we see that exact variation doesn't show up in the title. So that's the first strike. Then right here, we actually do see emergency dentists in St. Louis in the meta description. So this is perfect. This is exactly what it should be. But then there's a slight challenge with this description. I personally think that we should not have a phone number in a meta description or in a title. And the reason is simple. From an SEO perspective, one of the most important things is that we get organic CTR. Organic CTR is an actual ranking factor. So if you're ranking and you're not getting clicked on, Google will push you down those results and put someone else there to see if that result gets better CTR. And so this is a big mistake, because what's going to happen is people could potentially call this number, but they won't actually click through, and that is not what we want. So I would remove this number and create copy that incentivizes the searcher to click through. That's really important. So, and then also looking at the URL structure, right? So we have emergency dentist. You know, if I was trying to get pretty hardcore about this, I would actually put St. Louis emergency dentist in this URL. I really want it to be very clear that that is the keyword we're trying to rank for, and I want to have no ambiguity. And the truth is, the better you optimize this page, the less backlinks you're going to need. And that's really the goal. Backlinks are the fuel in the fire. We want to try to get as far as we possibly can without backlinks, okay? And in most cases, you will need them. But in this case, there's certainly room to just make some basic on-page changes. Now, looking through here, optimize the title, optimize the meta description, obviously optimize the URL. And then what we want to do is we want to go and look at the headings. So right here, we see we have an H1, emergency dental care. Once again, we don't have the primary keyword in the H1, which is exactly where it needs to be. So all they need to do in this case is just switch these. You know, instead of having this keyword rich H2, which is exactly what it should be in the H1. And then the H2 could use some sort of variation of that primary keyword. So in this case, we go right back to SEMrush and we'll look under here under related keywords and see if we can find some sort of variation to include there. So we could do emergency dental as opposed to emergency dentist. Okay, so we put a slight variation just to ultimately capture more organic traffic for this keyword. So that is the very basic level of things that need to happen for this page to perform well. And then, you know, they have another H2, probably not necessary, probably use an H3 in that case, but for the most part, we just need to place the keywords in the most prominent spots, the most important spots on the page. So that is like bare minimum to rank. Then what we want to do is we want to look at the overall user experience of this page. So we look at page speed insights. I just throw we'll go ahead and take them. We'll go ahead and put this actual page in here. And we're going to go ahead and see how well this page loads, okay? And we want to see that it loads as fast, if not faster, than the competitors. And while we're waiting, we'll go ahead and into Surfer here and start to look at some of the opportunities. So, you know, sitting about number 29 for this keyword, about a 54 score on their optimization. So lots of room to improve. And the good news is, you know, Surfer has their own proprietary crawling where they can go and measure links. And that's what this scoring mechanism is. And really what we want to see here is that, you know, we're not too far off from the top competitors. So when we look at this, you see there is one here that has a domain score of 2. So it's a little bit stronger. But for the most part, we're really dealing with low authority websites. So these will be very easy to beat. It will not be difficult as long as we have really strong on-page optimization and strong content. So looking at this, we'll go back to page speed insights, and it looks like on mobile, they're sitting about a 60. There's a lot of room for improvement here, okay? Now, you don't need to get to a solid 90 or 100, but it certainly would not hurt. But we want to get this, you know, we want to improve this, get to at least a 75, ideally get up, you know, above an 80, the classic 80-20 rule. So try to get above that 80, just to make sure you can mark that off the list as far as optimization variables. And then we'll go back to desktop. Desktop is looking good. This is terrific. So nothing, I wouldn't change anything on this front, but I would work to improve the mobile experience and loading speed. Very, very important, especially because they're probably getting a good amount of mobile traffic. Now, you would need to go into Google Analytics to see the distribution of mobile traffic versus desktop traffic, but regardless, it doesn't matter. You should always optimize these two versions of the site to the best of your ability. Now, we'll go back here and look at the Surfer report. So we'll go to audit. And what I want to see are a few things here. Ultimately, you know, yes, looking at true density, but before before you even look at true density, this doesn't matter until you've actually hit the proper word count. Okay, so scroll right past that and go right into the word count. And I want to see, is their word count sufficient for this keyword? Now, looking at this, pretty much everyone has really low word counts, okay? But there is one competitor that's 858 words. So in this case, it would not be a huge investment for this website to invest in 1,000 words of content on this page, okay? That would not be a huge investment, and it would have a monumental effect on their performance, because we could look at this and say, okay, well, if we put 1,000 words of content, we know where we have more content than all the top 5 competitors. So once again, we can mark that off the list as far as a variable that's going to affect our performance. So that's what I would do, is I would shoot for about 1,000 words in this case. Once that is actually done, we've got that 1,000 word target in here. And actually, the funny thing is with Surfer is this number here, if you go above it, Surfer's gonna say to actually cut off some words. So if you wanna really do proper Surfer and you're really concerned about just getting the best Surfer score, then maybe you could just do 987 or you could do 950. The truth is that doesn't really matter, okay? It's not gonna matter whether you're at 1,000 or whether you're at 987 or whether you're at 1,200, okay? As long as you're above that top competitor in this case, you're gonna be good to go. Now that's the first part. Then from there, before we even talk about density, we're gonna go back and look here at the bottom, and it looks like Surfer claims that they're loading at the speed that they should. And so that's fine. This might be on desktop. So, but on mobile, we know based on PageSpeed Insights, which is, if we're thinking about which data source to trust the most, I would trust Google over Surfer any day of the week, okay? So start there, but use this as kind of like your secondary check. And then we're gonna go in here, and like I said, so we've hit the word count, we've optimized the page for speed, and now that we have the new content on that page, we need to actually optimize that content. And so look through here, inject every recommendation that Surfer is recommending, and then try to get the best score that you can here, okay? So just by improving the word count, you're immediately gonna increase this score here on Surfer. So it'll go from a 54 to like, I don't know, maybe a 65 or something, just by getting the word count. Then from there, the rest of your score will be dependent on these keywords that you actually put into the copy. Now, this is where kind of like common sense comes in, a little bit of experience, because when you're working in verticals where, let's just say the SEO is not very good or very competitive, a lot of these recommendations are going to be based upon the competitors who are not actually that good at SEO. So you're basically just modeling people that don't actually know what they're doing, or they're not executing SEO super well. So just use your best judgment here. But like I mentioned, at the end of the day, go back here. If you put the keyword in all the primary spots it needs to be, the title, the description, the URL, the H1, the H2, and then sprinkled in a couple times throughout the copy, you're gonna be ahead of 80% of people that try to compete for most keywords, okay? Doing that alone will put you ahead of most people. Surfer is just the extra juice that we need to put us over the finish line, okay? So use what you can here if it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, then just don't do it, okay? But that is pretty much it for content and on-page SEO. Once you've got all that squared away, that's probably gonna push them, because if we're looking at this, they're sitting on page 3. Just by doing those recommendations that I gave, I can almost guarantee that their rankings will push up to at least this 11 through 20, if not the first page. I have no doubt that it would. And then from there, to get that final push, to get them into the top 3, maybe even top 5, we're gonna need to do a little bit of link building. So I would drive links directly to this page. And so if you want, I can kind of show you what it looks like as far as the anchor text that I would probably use in this case. So knowing that none of these competitors have huge link profiles. So we'll go and look here and you'll see none of them have huge amount of links. Only the first 3 competitors have, let's say 15 on average referring domains. And that's not even followed referring domains. So it could just be no follow and follow domains. So In reality, we're not going to need a whole lot, and especially just to get on the first page, we basically need nothing. So one really strong link with a really strong anchor text will push this page up where it needs to be. That's what I would personally do. So, and I would just use a pretty natural anchor text, not something that looks very unnatural in the context of content. So like emergency dentist St. Louis would not sound normal in a sentence, okay? But it would sound normal if we said emergency dentist in St. Louis, or we did best emergency dentist in St. Louis is the anchor text, okay? So something that's very closely related, but also makes sense within within a piece of content, okay? So very, very simple, but like I mentioned, this page would not need a lot of links, and you don't need to go crazy. You just need a really strong link to push it forward. So that's pretty much it. This is a very simple one. This is probably the easiest one that I've done before, but I just wanted to show you guys that with just some basic stuff, like just sticking to the basics sometimes is really all we need to do with a lot of these campaigns. We don't need to do the most complex stuff all the time because most of these on the local level, we're not competing. These aren't super competitive keywords. I mean, you look at these guys, they have virtually no authority at all. So if you just understand a little bit of link building and you don't go too crazy, you just try to kind of match the competitors or go just a little bit above them and then do everything that I mentioned previously, this is gonna, shoot up the rankings. And then of course, the last piece of this, of course, when it comes to SEO is just be patient, right? You need to make all these content related changes, these user experience related changes, these on-page SEO changes. And once those have been pushed live, just give it some time for Google to crawl and re-index those changes. It could take 2 to 4 weeks. It could even take maybe a month and a half to see the full impact of that. And then from there, you can see how far that took you and say, okay, now we're here. Now we need to give this the extra little push. And that's when you can go out and acquire those links directly to this page. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. If you got value from this video, please like it. And don't forget to subscribe because I'm gonna be uploading all kinds of awesome new videos very, very soon. So once again, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.